It has been requested for me to do a update on my addiction / sobriety, so here it is. I say / sobriety just because I don't really believe in the whole like once you're an addict you're always an addict, like it's a disease kind of thing. I think that's a really negative way of looking at things, and it works for some people, don't get me wrong, like that's the philosophy that AA and NA and all those believe in, that, you know, you have a disease and whatever, and you're an addict for life basically. But for me that doesn't really work, because I feel like that's kind of labeling myself and in a way kind of holding me back from becoming who I can, like from reaching my full potential, because, you know, you're walking around with this label like it's been 10 years since I touched anything but I'm still an addict. Like, it hasn't been 10 years for me, but it's an example. Like, you know what I mean? I just feel like it's always kind of following you when you kind of believe in that. That being said, I do believe that I am more like susceptible than some other people because of my history. Like, I shouldn't go around it, you know, like I shouldn't touch that, like anything, and I shouldn't hang out with people who do because I will want to do it if I do. So in that sense, like, yeah, it's always going to be in me, like I'm always going to crave it, and I do believe in that part of it, but I just don't believe in like labeling myself as forever an addict. I'm actually gonna just get real honest with you actually and say that I did have a little bit of a relapse. More than a little bit, actually. I had a full-blown relapse. It's been a year now since my previous relapse, and I am feeling really good. I'm exercising fairly regularly. I started out exercising like regularly, you know, being super into it, like, yeah, I'm gonna turn my life around, like I'm gonna be healthy. Got really into it. Exercised like 5 days a week, you know, every week for about 3 or 4 months actually, and then that's when summer hit, like, and then it kind of went downhill, and it went to more like 2 to 3 times a week, and then it kind of went down to once a week, and for a little while, for like a month or so, I didn't work out at all, and now I'm kind of trying to get back into it now that like summer is over. You know, summer's kind of like the fun season for me anyways. It's when you're hanging out with your friends, bonfires, beach, you know, you're drinking more, it's just more of a fun time, and you're not really focused on working out. But now that it's getting cold outside and dark so early, you know, winter is not a fun time for me. I don't like winter. I like Christmas though. I think I love Christmas so much because I hate winter so much. So now I'm trying to get back into working out, and yeah, I was sober. Like, my first ever video about it was when I was 17. I had the white hair, like short dreadlocks. I was pale, really skinny. Like, I had just quit doing speed, which is amphetamines, which is pretty much meth. So I wasn't too healthy back then, and I know that video, a lot of people, like, it's huge. So many people watch it. I get comments on it every day at people, you know, tell me their life story, like long paragraphs, and I love it. I read all the comments, okay, and I try to reply to as many as I can, but I just want to put a disclaimer out there. I was 17 years old. Like, I didn't really know what I was talking about that much. I thought I did, and I guess you could say that I was pretty smart for my age, but, you know, you gotta keep in mind that I still had just quit. Like, it had been just a few weeks since I quit, like when I made that video. I hadn't even been clean for a month, so just keep that in mind. So since then, I went like a while. I went a year or two without touching anything, and then I had been going through some stuff, just wasn't in a good part of my life, I guess. I was going through some stuff, and I have to admit that I started drinking more often to cope with what I was going through, which definitely is not a good thing to do. But that's what I did. You know, I didn't know what to do. I was just struggling with my emotions, and I didn't want to feel those emotions. So I turned to alcohol, and then eventually that alcohol use turned to cocaine use. Previously, it had been a speed addiction, but then it started to be a cocaine addiction. But they're both uppers, stimulants. There you go, that's the professional word. I guess you could say I have an addictive personality when it comes to stimulants. So to deal with everything, I started using again, and it started out pretty occasionally. Like, the drinking wasn't occasionally. I drank pretty often, but the drug use was still occasionally, because I still had that in the back of my mind, you know, you were sober for so long, you can't go back to that, like, you're so proud of yourself, and I didn't have that in my mind, and I didn't want to go back to where I was. So at first it was just occasionally. Like with most drugs, occasionally turns to a lot pretty quickly, and then before you knew it, I did have a full-blown cocaine addiction. So that lasted not quite a year, I don't think. When it was at its worst was last, you know, I don't even remember. It was last winter. No, yeah, around this time last year that I quit, actually. Oh, I'm so proud of myself. So I guess it was not quite a year that I was relapsing, but like I said, it started off very gradual, and like slowly over that year became a full-blown addiction. Like, it wasn't just instantly, you know, doing it every day. And then around this time last year, I realized that, you know, I'm in college for human services. Like, I'm pursuing a human services career, you know, child and youth care diploma. Like, I want to work with youth, and the thing that I wanted to focus on was addiction. So it was kind of hypocritical of me to be wanting to do this as a job and to help other people with their addiction when I had an addiction of my own. So I decided then and there that I was going to quit again and stay quit, and I am proud to say that I have succeeded in that. When I first quit again, it was really hard. Like, I think almost harder than the first time, because I think because of the fact that I had been through it before, and you kind of put yourself down about that. You know, the first time is really hard because it's your first time trying to quit, and you don't know what withdrawals are like, you don't know what cravings are like you never went through the quitting process before, so it is really hard. But then on the other hand, quitting for a second time is twice as hard, because you now like kick yourself in the butt every day, because you're like, how did I let myself get here? After going through all of this, why did I let myself go through it again? But of course you have to realize in the end that it's not necessarily your fault. I mean, of course you do have to take some responsibility to a degree, but you also do have to realize that addiction is a really tough thing to deal with, and you know, relapses are really normal, like really common, and you can't let that get you down, because if you let that get you down, then you're not going to be successful. You're just gonna pity yourself and sulk, and then probably go back to using the one thing that made you feel better when you were depressed and sulking. You have to keep a positive mind and kind of remind yourself that, yeah, it sucks, I made a mistake, but I'm going to keep moving forward and look past it and realize that I'm better than that. And that's what I did. I tried not to beat myself up about it too much, and to realize that I'm still a good person, I'm still me, you know. I just made a little mistake. I just veered off the path a little, and now I'm veering back on it. No, baby, you can't go in there. No. No, baby. Come on. Come here. The coping methods that I used this time around was really to just focus on living a healthier life in general. So instead of just like focusing on quitting drugs and not doing drugs, you know, I kind of just switched it to more of a general, like, vague kind of idea where I just want to be healthy. So I stopped eating, you know, junk food as much, not completely, because I love me some chips. You know, I tried to cut back on all of my unhealthy eating habits, stopped eating out as much, like tried to go for more healthy alternatives for snacks, things like that. Like when doing groceries, I try to buy more healthy food. I started working out. I started, you know, saying my affirmations to myself daily, like to just really focusing on being a happier and healthier person, and didn't really focus too much on the drug aspect of it, because I feel like I had already dealt with that years ago. The first time around, I had gone to see a drug counselor, whatever, once a week. I did the group therapy thing, and you know, I did all of that, and I dealt with those demons. And this time around, I already knew why I turned to drugs. I already knew all of that stuff. I just knew that I had to focus more on, like, not letting myself fall back into it. So more like just trying to stay more positive and coping in a healthier way, I guess. That being said, I did go see a therapist though, but we didn't talk about the addiction very much. Like, I did let her know that I had recently quit doing cocaine, but we didn't focus on it. I just really wanted to focus on dealing with my emotions, mainly my anxiety, but just because, I mean, you have to think about why you started doing drugs in the first place, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you want to obviously deal with the addiction, the actual addiction, but then once that's dealt with, you want to kind of figure out why you turned to drugs and what made you cope in that way, I guess. So for me, it was really focusing on my anxiety and how to cope with my anxiety in a healthy way, because oftentimes I used alcohol and drugs in social situations because I have severe social anxiety. So it's really hard for me to talk to people that I'm not comfortable with, that is. So going to parties, or, you know, going to the bar, just going to hang out with people. I don't have very many, like, close friends. I know a lot of people, like, I have a lot of acquaintances, but I don't hang out with them because of my social anxiety. And in the past, the way that I would make friends was by drinking and doing drugs, because it would make me more outgoing. I would talk. I felt more comfortable, you know. I was making friends so easily, and it was like, oh my god, look at me, like, anxiety's gone. But it wasn't gone, it was just masked, and it got 10 times worse after I quit everything, which it tends to do. And I'm still not 100%, but I'm definitely a lot better. I can put myself out there more now than I ever could before, sober. Like, for sure, I still drink, because alcohol was never really my problem. And of course, I get more social and more outgoing when I'm drunk. That's with everyone. But being sober now, I can actually talk to people easier than I used to. It's still a struggle for me. It always will be, I think, but I'm not so scared now to put myself out there, because I know that they don't really think I'm weird, and they don't really hate me or anything that my anxiety tells me, you know. That's just the anxiety talking, and it's not true. They really don't give a shit, to be honest. And so what if they think I'm weird? I am weird. They probably are too. It's not that big of a deal. It took me a lot of counseling sessions, mind you, to come to that conclusion. But so, wrapping this up, I don't really know what else to say. I think I've covered most bases. If you want to know anything more, definitely leave a comment below and I will answer you. Feel free to check out my first ever video that I will have right here. Also check out my other videos and hit the subscribe button. And thank you for watching. I love you all. Bye!